Plus, IT gets screened. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this. Tune in this Thursday. Don't miss it.
No more fear of missing out. CVM TV News is on YouTube. Get up-to-date news, sports, and business content at CVM TV News anytime, anywhere. Subscribe now to CVM TV News to see it happen.
Get Sagicor School Companion Health Plan for as little as $2,540 per month. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday headlines, courtesy of Heart NSDA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, Prime Minister's financials flagged, referred to F.I.D. Experts debate Integrity Commission's findings on Prime Minister Holness's finances, and the PNP calls for the PM's resignation.
Also this evening, government seeks to re-establish the Access to Information Appeal Tribunal. In the business report, U.S. Federal Reserve cuts interest rates. And in sports, Cavaliers suffers first loss in the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup. From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. I'm Stephen McHugh.
And I'm Carolyn Brown. It's Wednesday, September 18, 2024. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, we begin with a deeper dive into the Integrity Commission's investigation into Prime Minister Andrew Holness's financial declarations.
The report raises questions about the tax filings of companies linked to the Prime Minister, prompting a referral to the Financial Investigations Division. Our reporter Ramon Gordon has been reading the report.
Tonight we break down the key findings from the Integrity Commission's investigation into Prime Minister Andrew Holness's financial declarations. The report, which spans over 170 pages, highlights important concerns about the tax filings of companies linked to the Prime Minister. Let's walk through the most significant points. The investigation highlighted 3 companies associated with the Prime Minister: Imperium, Positive Media, and Estate Bridge. These companies filed nil tax returns for 2021 and 2022, despite being involved in significant financial transactions. Let's first look at Imperium. Imperium, a company owned solely by Prime Minister Andrew Holness, earned over $5 million in 2021 from dividends, exchange gains, and interest. Yet it filed a nil tax return for that year and the following year. This discrepancy has raised concerns about the accuracy of the filings. Similarly, Positive Media reported over $20 million in income in 2021, and Estate Bridge reported just over $1 million in interest income. However, both companies also filed nil tax returns, indicating they claimed no taxable income for the year. The report also highlighted intercompany transfers between these businesses, over $473 million in deposits and $427 million in withdrawals during the investigation period. The Integrity Commission has flagged these transactions as part of its concerns about potential tax compliance issues. The Integrity Commission has referred the findings to the Financial Investigation Division, or F.I.D, for further assessment of tax compliance. This means that the financial dealings of the companies, including the Prime Minister's involvement, will now be reviewed for potential violations of tax laws. These findings will no doubt be scrutinized further in the coming weeks should the F.I.D take up its investigation. We'll of course continue to monitor this developing story and bring you the updates as they unfold.
Thanks, Ramon. Well, the Integrity Commission's report on Prime Minister Andrew Holness has sparked debate, particularly over companies linked to him filing nil tax returns despite millions in earnings. Ramon Gordon also discussed the findings with 2 experts.
The findings of the Integrity Commission's investigation into Prime Minister Andrew Holness's statutory declarations have sparked a wave of commentary from political and tax experts as Jamaica grapples with the implications of the report. The investigation, which examined Holness's financials and the tax compliance of companies linked to him, raised significant questions about transparency, governance, and the filing of nil tax returns by 3 entities associated with the Prime Minister. Political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang expressed skepticism about certain elements of the investigation.
Well, it's a very strange report. The 4 bank accounts that they spent $36 million checking out, and the biggest one was 300,000 Jamaican. And then there was the unexplained shift in wealth. Overall, a $5,000 discrepancy. This is extremely strange.
Tax expert Denzel White weighed in on the technical aspects of the report, stating that while the findings raise important questions, they fall short of proving any definitive wrongdoing.
The income that was reported was in the report was actually international financial reporting standards income. There are accounting rules that would say what you include in as income and what you include as expenses. But in the based on the Income Tax Act, the basis for recognizing income and expenses would be different.
He's used Imperium for context, which earned some of its millions from dividends.
If the dividend peradventure was from CARICOM sources, it would not be subject to tax in Jamaica at all. And the same thing for the interest. So without more information, you really couldn't say whether or not this is any major exposure.
The governing Jamaica Labour Party has pushed back against the Integrity Commission's findings, taking particular issue with the decision to refer the matter to the F.I.D.
What they want F.I.D. to investigate seems to be some bonds, but it's the transfers between Andrew Holness' own wealth and his charity, not to outside entity. And that's very curious.
The party has also raised concerns about the Commission potentially overstepping its powers, calling for review of the Integrity Commission Act.
Parliament has no power to refer people to the F.I.D. By the looks of it, it's not legal to Parliament refer to anybody to the F.I.D. and wouldn't the Integrity Commission have checked beforehand?
Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Political tensions reached a boiling point this week as members of the country's 2 main political parties publicly called for each other's heads, following the tabling of the Integrity Commission's report, igniting a debate over accountability and governance. More from Courtney Lewis.
The People's National Party left its annual conference on Sunday, telling the Prime Minister to call the general election. Today, it's a different behest as the governing Jamaica Labour Party and the opposition, the People's National Party, trade calls for resignations. The exchange of political punches comes a day after the tabling of the Integrity Commission's report in the House of Representatives. The PNP calls for the resignation of Prime Minister Andrew Holness, outlining a number of financial findings that they say questions his integrity. The party says it is carefully reviewing the 171-page report with its legal team to fully understand the contents and has called for a press conference for Thursday morning. However, the party made it clear that Dr. Holness should step down based on its initial review, stating that there is a number of factors that must be considered, including the Prime Minister's deliberate misleading of the country and Parliament after he said he was unaware that he nor anyone in the Jamaica Labour Party was under investigation for illicit enrichment. But JLP spokesperson Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn labels the call as desperate and unwarranted.
I believe this position taken by the PNP is baseless and without merit. It is important to also note that unlike some individuals in the PNP, the Prime Minister does not hide his assets in trust funds.
Adding that the IC's investigation of the Prime Minister is extensive and does not involve public funds, as the Office of the Contractor General investigates into the alleged sweetheart deal involving current opposition leader Mark Goulding and opposition spokesperson on security Peter Bunting. She calls for her own resignations.
The investigation found that Peter Bunting and Mark Goulding's company arrived at a deal with the then PNP administration, and this involved public funds, which was conducted via an irregular and highly improper process. The fact of the matter is, due to the findings of the OCG probe, which is on the record of the Parliament, it is Peter Bunting and Mark Goulding who should immediately step down.
The JLP says the Prime Minister will remain in office. Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
Meanwhile, amidst backlash surrounding the expiration of the Access to Information Appeal Tribunal, the government is working to restore the council. Information Minister Senator Dana Morris-Dixon says it shows the government's commitment to transparency for all Jamaicans. Here again is Courtney Lewis.
It is important. It is important that people have access to the information of the work of the government. Nothing that we do is private. It is all open to scrutiny.
That's the latest comment as the government seeks to re-establish the Access to Information Appeal Tribunal. In a post-cabinet media briefing on Wednesday, Information Minister Senator Dana Morris-Dixon said new members of the tribunal have been identified.
We have decided on the names of some individuals, but as with many of our tribunals, you have to have the support of both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition. And so where we are now, the list that has been proposed has been sent to the Leader of the Opposition for his comments. And so once we hear back from him, then we can move it forward.
Under the Access to Information Act, Jamaicans are allowed to request information from government agencies. But the senator says there are some hindrances which the tribunal serves to address.
There are some caveats, though. Obviously, there's some sensitive security information or other information that cannot be shared, and sometimes a government entity may respond in that way. But it doesn't end there. So even if an entity says, no, because of this provision, you cannot get the information, the law says that there can be a tribunal that you can appeal to. And so this is actually a part of the government saying, we're open for you to ask any question. And it's not just for the media, it's for any Jamaican.
The opposition, People's National Party PNP, earlier this week called for the government to immediately appoint new members to the tribunal. They argue that this delay was undermining citizens' rights and reflects poorly on governmental accountability. On another note, the minister also gave an update regarding the latest reports from the Artificial Intelligence AI Task Force, with the findings soon to be tabled before the cabinet.
That task force has looked at our education system, what needs to change there. It has also looked at, in terms of our businesses, how we can harness AI better, and also in terms of government policy, because every new technology has disadvantages to it. How do we mitigate against the negatives that come with AI, and even looking at the ethics around AI and how Jamaica navigates AI in the international space that is currently developing legislation around it.
She adds the task force will continue to examine various sectors to mitigate negative effects of new technologies for future public education. Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
Lots more to come here on CVM News at 7. Stay with us.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday headlines, courtesy of Heart NSDA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
At Sagicor Bank, we know that feeling.
When you finally find a place
that has your name written all over it, where you can settle down and turn it into a home. So we designed a mortgage with everything you need to own your home faster and easier.
Including a $2 million line of credit I'm using to go solar.
Put down roots with a mortgage from Sagicor Bank.
Yeah man, make some noise, because Burger King Double Deal Pick 2 is back. The $16.50 you get 2 whole Burger King combo is a win-win. Pick 2 combos, Whopper Junior Cheese with bacon, American Chicken Sandwich or Big Fish Sandwich combo for only $16.50. Spend one money, win 2 times. Food for me, I'm a party, or just for me, cause me hungry right now. Myself and I go hungry later. You see it? 1 money, 2 food. Makes it 1 money, 2 food. Win-win. Burger King Double Deal Pick 2.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Search for its breeding sites and destroy them. This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Protect yourself from the bite of this mosquito.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday, courtesy of...
Your love lives on with life insurance from Sagicor.
Back to CVM News at 7. We now go live to Andre Jebinson, who is on location outside the Prime Minister's residence, where he says the security presence is increasing. Andre.
Hi, Stephen. So we got here about 15 minutes ago. When we got here, there were about 3 police vehicles, 2 pickups and a sedan with about 6 police officers. Since the time that we've been here, we've noticed that 3 other vehicles have approached the house. They're parked outside. We tried to find out what exactly prompted their visit to the residence, but at this point they are tight-lipped. In fact, they have sent us to the communications arm of the constabulary force for information. We tried to get if there was an emergency at the residence or in the area which prompted their visit. They would not say that. We tried to find out if it was motivated by another topic, which is obviously in the media, the IT report, or anything related to that. We would not get any response from them. We also tried to get whether the Prime Minister was at the residence or elsewhere. We couldn't get any answers to that either. But we have noticed about 12 police officers in all the vehicles that are parked outside the residence. And we will, of course, continue to monitor the situation here. And if anything develops, then we will be sure to share that with you. We also noticed that a JDF vehicle passed, but they didn't stay long. They left shortly after they arrived. So, I mean, the area is still, there's nothing actively taking place at the residence except for the police presence outside at this point.
Okay, thank you, Andre Jemison. And of course, we'll have more for you in subsequent newscasts. Now, some Falmouth fishermen are complaining that the Trelawney Municipal Corporation is not looking out for their best interest. This following the municipality's move to destroy their buildings alongside a school after receiving complaints that inappropriate activities are taking place on the school compound. The fishermen, however, have denied the claim. Here's Trisha Gay Kelly with the details.
Fishermen in Falmouth, Trelawney are now facing the consequences of others' actions after the Trelawney Municipal Corporation demolished some 18 buildings on Tuesday. The corporation says it has received reports from a nearby institution that people beside the school were abusing the property. But the fishermen are more concerned that because of actions not attributed to them, they now have nowhere to go.
Roughly 2 years no more for the move at top seaside come put me up. And see there, if my brother come here, they push on the man building down, but years we there so. And they move in front of seaside, come here so you know, come locate we are so. And go to if we move again go away.
Some have sought to clarify the reasons for the demolition. One fisherman says he understands the school's claims. However, one specific claim he says is quite false.
His school say man them I use his school premises as toilet. See? And me can agree to that because enough man afraid I go down there so go ask the bathroom key. So me not say that I know, but when they go say prostitution, see all me up there so the problem him fi find find down here.
In recent days, reports amassed that prostitution was a nuisance to the school. The corporation has not confirmed that claim. Mayor of Falmouth, Colin Gager, however, highlighted areas of concern for the school, including residents using its bathroom facilities and leaving them unclean.
We have letter complaining from the principal at the Falmouth College that a lot of activities is going on there that isn't suitable for that area, and especially young children. They would clean their school, and in the morning when they arrive for school, the whole place would be covered in all sort of feces or all of that all over the place.
Though Mayor Gager says notices were served to the fisherfolk, they say no verbal notice was given to them, only flyers decorating the space. Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
And during the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation's meeting last week, a concern raised by the councillor for the White House Division, Michael Jackson, was that of trucks speeding through the township. Adrian Williams tells us more about the corporation's plans to curb the practice.
Speeding has proven to be one of the major issues causing road accidents and fatalities, something Councillor for the White House Division, Michael Jackson, is encouraging truck drivers to desist from doing in the town.
Concern about the speeding in the township of White House, right in the heart of the square, where we see those trucks laden with aggregate coming through the square at speed that can cause serious accident.
As a result of a truck speeding, just over a year ago, someone lost their life while crossing a roadway in the township.
We are lobbying to ensure that the pedestrian crossing is repainted, duly gazetted for the square in White House, and working closely with the municipal corporation and also the Jamaica Constabulary Force in trying to put, and the National Works Agency, in allowing speed strips within the township.
Jackson says the police have pledged to play their part in prosecuting this level of lawlessness.
The police has assured me they have acquired the necessary that equipment to ensure the speed gun, because in the township, speed should be at its minimum.
The councillor highlighted that all the relevant agencies in the parish will work together to ensure persons who defy the road signs and instructions will be penalized. Adrian Williams for CVM News.
The second city will have much work to do as St. James is still leading the tally for murders. Over the past few days, brutal shootings have crippled the smooth flow of business, with one incident occurring in the heart of Montego Bay. But the police believe things will soon change for the better, adding their strategies are improving. Here's Trisha Gay Kelly.
A blanket of gloom now covers the Hurlock community in St. James after 2 residents were killed and another 2 injured Friday night. One of the deceased has been identified as O'Neill Howe, also known as Redneck, a shopkeeper in the community. The other man is yet to be identified. According to Councillor Caretaker for the Springmount Division, Jodian Kolomathi, residents are now fearful. She says the incident was quite shocking to her.
For the longest time, we've been a quiet community. It has been a minute since we have had an uproar in the area. The last uproar that we had was when a young lady was brutally murdered at her home. So to see this coming now, it is basically shocking, and it has now laid fear and has driven our community into mourning.
Kolomathi is urging community members to share any information they may have to assist the police in their investigation efforts.
I can say that this is not a behavior that we hope to condone or we will condone moving forward. So I would urge any resident or the residents with any form of information to work closely with our police team so we can bring these woodlums to justice.
The incident follows another brutal murder in the parish capital Thursday evening as a man in a public passenger vehicle was shot while waiting for the taxi to leave. The incident occurred moments after the police delivered their report on crime in the parish at the monthly municipal meeting. Operations Officer Deputy Superintendent Linroy Edwards reported that the parish was still leading in murders.
Whilst we are leading the country as far as reduction in murder is concerned, we are still the #1 division in the island as it relates to murder figures. However, our strategies that we have been tweaking, implementing consistently, we are ambitious for 2025.
Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
Stay with us for the business segment right after this break.
Hey my peeps, get this on the regular. Your HIV status if you consider. The least you ever test once a year. Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Cause it might not show up on your timeline and you learn too late so you're out of time. A progressive future, mandatory. Real long life, our story. You hear?
Remember, update your status in a real life. Go HIV test today.
Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Real long life, our story. Real long life was a youth coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Welcome back. Let's go now to our business report with Joel Crosskill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell this afternoon made an announcement that may have caught many by surprise at its magnitude in lowering the key lending rate of the U.S. Central Bank. The 16th Fed Chair described the move as a recalibration of policy, while also hinting at additional cuts to come in the future.
Our patient approach over the past year has paid dividends. Inflation is now much closer to our objective, and we have gained greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably toward 2%. As inflation has declined and the labor market has cooled, the upside risks to inflation have diminished and the downside risks to employment have increased. We now see the risks to achieving our employment and inflation goals as roughly in balance, and we are attentive to the risks to both sides of our dual mandate. In light of the progress on inflation and the balance of risks, at today's meeting, the committee decided to lower the target range for the federal funds rate by a 0.5 percentage point to 4.75% to 5%. This recalibration of our policy stance will help maintain the strength of the economy and the labor market, and will continue to enable further progress on inflation as we begin the process of moving toward a more neutral stance.
Interested parties across the world looked on as for the first time in over 4 years, the U.S. Central Bank reduced its signal rate by a huge 50 basis points. The significance of the move did not escape the attention of a selection of Jamaican expertise that was invited to comment by the BR, starting with an analysis from chartered accountant Dennis Chung.
As expected, the Fed today cut the rates by 50 basis points, which is from a range of 5.25 to 5.5% to 4.75 to 5%. This is and is seen as a big rate cut. I expected that would have come down by about 25 basis points. But to cut by 50 basis points means that they know that they're late. I had projected that they would start off cutting like 1 to 2 quarters ago. We see that unemployment rate is expected to rise in the U.S. from 4.2 to 4.4% this year. So the 50 basis points cut by the Fed is indicating that there's some challenges in the economy on the horizon. Now that has implications for us certainly, because if unemployment goes up there, it could affect our tourism sector. It could affect our exports in terms of demand for the market there. And we also have our own challenges with relatively high interest rates.
Philip Ramson, president of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, praised the move, while also suggesting that Jamaica's own central bank should follow a similar path.
The Chamber of Commerce supports the reduction in the U.S. interest rates. We think it'll help support our U.S. consumers. It'll help with our tourism and our export. So we're in full support of it. We would encourage the Jamaican government to follow suit in short order. I think that the government, the economy, Jamaica's economy is not as strong as the U.S., and if the U.S. is cutting their rates, we need to follow in quick succession. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for productivity, and I think that Jamaica should follow suit in short order.
Chairman of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, Keith Duncan, also commented on the size of the cut, as well as the potential knock-on effects for Jamaica's economy.
This is on the aggressive side, and it may signal that the U.S. economy has been slowing faster than they would like to see. This is a positive for Jamaica as the Bank of Jamaica looks to meet on September 30th to decide what is their
decisions in relation to reduction interest rates that when the Monetary Policy Committee meets. As the Jamaican economy has slowed in Q1 to a 0.1% growth rate projected by the PIOJ, and for further slowdown in the Jamaican economy for the fiscal year 24-25, we believe that the central bank will probably need to be more on the aggressive side in reducing interest rates, maybe up to 50 basis points in line with the U.S. Federal Reserve.
However, Dennis Chung, while hopeful of a similar reduction, was slightly more conservative in his expectations of how the BOJ may respond.
We cut by 25 basis points the last time. I thought it should have been about 50 basis points, but I expect that given the cut by the European Bank and also the Fed today, that definitely the BOJ is going to cut also because the economy is feeling a little squeezed now from the high interest rates.
The Fed's 2 remaining meetings for the year are scheduled on November 6 to 7 and December 17 to 18. And that was your Business Report. I'm Joel Crossgill.
Crunch your craving with the new KFC Crunchy Box for only $850. KFC, it's finger-licking good. The time by KFC is...
As a fitness guy, I was surprised by my chronic illness diagnosis. I thought working out harder would fix it, but it wasn't enough. Now, my prescription meds are a part of my routine.
When I got my diagnosis, I really felt down and stopped spending time with the people I love. Then I decided not to let any disease get the best of me. And I'm committed to taking my meds as prescribed. On time, every time.
No hesitation. Take your medication. A message from the NHF. NHF is here for health. NHF is here for you.
Ray and Neve, feel we culture. Yo!
New beginning, we winning, so share our spirit where you living, yeah.
Share it.
I make we all a one bar, you don't know we come from far.
From far, anytime we rap, feel we country. Real rum, it have to come with me.
No matter with the bad vibes.
Poor real rum, a celebration time.
Real rum. I feel we culture.
Real rum.
Make we show ya Jamaican culture.
And if you overprove from we just a do it to the culture. Me, I go show them my way of justice.
I'm abused.
I need legal advice. I don't deserve this.
The truth of the matter is, justice there for all of we. The Ministry of Justice has trained more than 5,600 persons in restorative justice practices. More than 200,000 victims have been supported by the victim services. Legal aid has reached thousands island-wide. Make we talk it out, not fight it out. Call 888 Justice today.
And as we welcome you back, it's time to tap into our social media spaces.
So, what's trending in our local social media spaces? The People's National Party is demanding that Prime Minister Andrew Holness step down immediately after a probe by the Integrity Commission raised some serious concerns about his financial dealings. Here are some of your reactions. At Madden_Anne-Marie writes, "He's going nowhere to please you. Let us meet at the polls. Kiss my teeth." At Desmond.Plummer.5 comments, "If the reports are true, Holness needs to step aside." At 2GrantV Dancehall Videos asks, "The Integrity Commission has done an evil thing to Andrew Holness. Even if the F.I.D. finds nothing, they have cast a lot of cloud over his character. If you do not intend to charge him, and you went for international audit, what are you looking for? What are you not satisfied with?" At Toughbag Juice says, "Long overdue. It's too much money being unaccounted for, the country not advancing, and I don't want anybody claim PNP playing politics, because it's very plain that something not right, and it's the duty of the opposition to highlight the irregularities as they arise." At Crazy Dre adds, "Not saying he is guilty or innocent, but there is no accountability for politicians in Jamaica.